So we are on Bhagavad Gita Chapter 13, text 8 to 12 is still finishing off. There are a few qualities still remaining. So Krishna has been giving lots of different qualities that he's saying is all these I declare to be knowledge. And besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So Krishna is very black and white, right? So this is all knowledge, and anything other than this is ignorance. So we talked about pride, or pridelessness rather, humility, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide guru, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of objects of sense gratification, right? Absence of false ego, the perception of evil of birth, death, old age, disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, even-mindedness. We talked about being even-minded in happiness and distress amid pleasant and unpleasant events. Constant and unalloyed devotion to me, right? To Krishna. Aspiring to live in a solitary place. Now, this is a new one. So what does that mean? Why is solitary place so important? Sharing something again, a little appreciation for Vrindavan. When I go to Vrindavan with a crowd, it is nice, right? We get to hear from great personalities, and there's everybody like, oh, ee-hoo, right? But being in Vrindavan alone is something absolutely amazing. So when I was doing Govardhan Parikrama, I had a very old friend with me. He's from Argentina. Gokulananda Prabhu, his name is. And he was telling me that he is stuck in Govardhan since the pandemic. His visa, some trouble he had. So he's stuck in India and Govardhan, and he's doing parikrama every week. And he was saying that new moon nights, it is absolutely stunning what it looks like, Govardhan, the new moon, and going around Govardhan. So I've been meditating on that and been wanting to go, like, oh, wow, moonlight, Govardhan, breeze of Vrindavan, and the dust of Vrindavan, and me. Would be so nice. So now, before I would not understand what it's meant for, like solitude, and why would anybody want to be solitude. So solitude doesn't mean you're unsocial and you stick yourself in a room and close the door from inside. It is an opportunity for meditation, contemplation, right? Even in a day, you'll notice when you're having your shower, you're on your own. The mind has a way of opening up when you are with yourself, having conversations, meditating on certain thoughts. The mind has a way of opening up and solving problems or coming up with ideas. So solitude is actually something that is very beneficial for us, but in modern day and age, we don't get that often. So here Krishna is talking about one who aspires to stay in a solitude, aspiring to live in a solitary place. So that is a sign of a contemplative person, somebody who's contemplative, whose mind, who does a lot of mental thinking and activities mentally, wants to be in a place where they have time to meditate on certain things and come to certain conclusions. A lot of devotees do that. They end up, spending some time in a year in a place like Vrindavan or Mayapur, where they would read Bhagavatam, or they would just visit the temples. Like I was recently talking to somebody I really admire in ISKCON. His name is Gopal Bhatta Prabhu. He's a Prabhupada disciple, very, very senior, 72 years old. And he was telling me, we were discussing that he was in GBC and he has moved on from those services. And now he visits the house of the gopis, right? Lalita Sakhi and others, Vishakha Devi, and all these who are very close to Radharani. And he is opening, deeper levels of consciousness, deeper levels of appreciation for Radha and Krishna, the very esoteric stuff that at this stage we are not delving into. And that requires meditation, contemplation, being alone, and all of that, right? So that is also part of knowledge gathering, is where somebody decides to be contemplative in their own space. Detachment from general mass of people, right? I think that's obvious, right? Detachment doesn't mean you don't meet with people. Detachment as in whatever is happening with the general mass, Sharma ji ka beta, it's okay, let it happen. I have my path and I'm going to move in that direction and not being bogged down by what everybody else is doing. Then comes accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. So if you see the Maslow's hierarchy, there is the basic needs that one has to sustain one's life and everything else. Okay, what happened to my Zoom? Sorry. So, where were we? You notice everything, Prash, don't you? All right. Accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for absolute truth. So Krishna is bringing us from different qualities, humility and this, that, all the way to accepting the importance of self-realization. So now that, we are all there, we are all studying the Bhagavad Gita together. So accepting that aspect of that I have to grow in my spiritual life. Once one comes to that, one becomes a human being. Before that, one is considered a two-legged animal. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. 4 things that are common amongst humans and animals. Eating, we all eat. Sleeping, we all sleep, whether in a nice bed or curled up in a little, street, whatever. Mating, we all create children. And defending. Some people have claws, some people have atom bombs, but we have ways of defending ourselves. Those are all animalistic behavior, common amongst animals and humans. But one who asks questions, higher questions about dharma. Ahara nidra bhaya maithunamscha. Samanyam etat pashubhi naranam. Ahara nidra bhaya maithunamcha. These 4 things. Samanyam etat pashubhi narana. Pashu and nara, humans and animals have it in common. Dharma tahita adhiko. More who are asking questions about dharma, they are considered higher. They're considered human. Dharme nahina pashupi samana. Without dharma, without asking questions about dharma, one is considered animal. So Krishna is finally bringing us to that level of knowledge where one is eager for self-realization. This is where the human life begins. Philosophical search for absolute truth. And then finding out who is God. So first knowing who am I, soul, part of Krishna, and who is God, absolute truth. This encompasses what we know as spiritual knowledge as given by Bhagavad Gita. Any questions so far on this? Sorry to ask you a personal thing. What is the new mala on your neck? If you feel right, please share, Prabhuji. Okay, Prash, and you both noticed it. I'm going through some bad health situation. And it's just one after another. It's horrible what I'm going through. And I've never been through such a long extension of health crisis. So this is actually something that was very special. It's a massive Rudraksha mala. I'm doing something that I probably shouldn't be doing, but I'm wearing this mala because today morning I got inspiration that this actually came from Pashupatinath's neck. Pashupatinath is at the same stature as Kedarnath, Badrinath. So somehow my body was in a lot of pain. and I decided to take a little shelter, little peace from Lord Shiva's touch. So because this mala was on his neck, I just wanted a little bit of relief. So that's why I'm wearing it. But again, I don't know if it is authorized to do that, wearing Tulsi and Rudraksh together. But Lord Shiva is the best of all the Vaishnavas. That's what our scriptures say. So in that mood, I am holding it on my body because that's actually helping me soothe my pain and the sufferings I'm going through. Again, don't ask me scriptural basis for it. I have not seen other devotees do that, but this has always been there in my home, and it's such a special gift I got directly from Pashupatinath. So I just thought I'll just, it gives me some peace. Anyway, maybe I'm doing something that I shouldn't be. Anyway, okay, going back.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, can you repeat that verse that Pashu?
Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maithunamscha. Who is asking, by the way?
Krishna.
Oh, Krishna. Okay. Go search Hitopadesh online and just search Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maithunamscha. So, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, 4 things common amongst humans and animals. And those who ask questions about dharma are higher than animalistic mentality. Those who don't ask questions about dharma are considered animals. That's the verse saying. Hitopadesh. All right. Any other questions? I'm almost embarrassed about this question about Rudraksh. I've never worn it, so I just wanted to see, what happens. All right. 1313. Ragni Mataji?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I'm sorry for asking you that question.
No worries.
And for sure you'll get well soon, Prabhuji, with Krishna consciousness all. So,
sure, but thank you so much.
Yes. Chapter 13, text 13. Jneyam yat pravaksyami yajñatvartam ashnute anadimat param brahma nasattan nasat uchyate. I shall now explain the noble, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit beginless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Do you want me to read text 14 also, Prabhuji?
Please.
Yeah. Text 14. Sarvatah panipadam tat sarvatoksi siromukham sarvatah srutimalloke sarvam avratya tisthati. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces. And he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything.
Let's keep going. We're getting interesting.
Text 15. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarva bhruchaiva nirgunam gunabhoktarcha. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material nature.
Next.
Text 16. Bahir antasya bhutanam acharam charam evacha sukshmatvat tat avidnyeyam dhurastam sanktike sachat. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all.
Thank you much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
So we went from okay. So now Krishna is saying, I shall now explain the knowledge, knowing which you will taste the eternal. So first Krishna gave a preamble of these are the ingredients of knowledge. Now Krishna is going into spiritual knowledge in a deeper way. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me. Please understand, those who go for Brahma Jyoti, Krishna is saying Brahman is subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. It is superior to the material world, but it is subordinate to Krishna. Who is Krishna? Bhagavan. And according to Brahma Samhita, the Brahma Jyoti is Krishna's bodily effulgence. Krishna has a glow. That glow is Brahman. So it is naturally subordinate to the Lord. And Krishna is saying this, first person singular. So those who think Brahman is the supreme and there is nothing more than that, they are mistaken, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying Brahman is subordinate to me. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything. So first Krishna explains Brahma Jyoti, then he talks about super soul. Super soul is everywhere, smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. How is he bigger than the biggest? In what form?
Prabhuji, universes come out of the force of Mahavishnu.
And then how is he smaller than the smallest?
He's smaller than the atoms and
Correct.
molecules. And
He's in every atom of his creation, and he's smaller. He's the smallest particle, if we say so, in an atom. Not the electron, not the proton, neutron, nucleus. It's a super soul. That's why you see, what is that book? Journey of Self-Realization. There's super soul and there's electrons going like this around him. That's the picture of the book. So he's smaller than the smallest, and he's saying everywhere are his hands, legs. So basically he can move anywhere because he's everywhere. His eyes, head, so he can see everything, can hear everything, right? That's how super soul is all pervading. He's in every part of his creation. Super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he's without senses. Is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he's a master of all the modes of material nature. So let's understand this. It's a little complex. The Supreme Lord, although the source of all senses of the living entities, doesn't have material senses like they have. Actually, the individual soul has spiritual senses. But in conditioned life, they're covered with material elements. And therefore, the sense activities are exhibited through matter. So the soul, near-death experiences. So near-death experiences, the body is lying down, and there's so many people, thousands and thousands of people with documented cases where they have explained them leaving the body, seeing their body from outside, going outside the hospital room, seeing the conversations happening, seeing who's present, what clothes they're wearing, and then coming back into the body, right? And inside the body again going in and being part of the material senses and all that. So the soul actually has senses. So that is why these senses work. So there is, even without these, the soul can see, hear, and all of that. So there's a spiritual senses. Krishna also has senses, but it's not material. In fact, Krishna's senses, angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. That Krishna's senses are interchangeable. Like when we offer bhoga, through his eyes, Krishna eats. By seeing the bhoga, Krishna is accepting it. Thank you very much. And is fully satisfied. So like that, through ears also Krishna can eat, right? Krishna can do anything with his five senses. He can interchangeably use them. We can't, because he has spiritual senses. Now, it is misunderstood by impersonalists that Krishna doesn't have any senses. If Krishna doesn't have any senses, how is he listening to our prayers? How is he reciprocating? How is he doing all of that? So Super Soul does have senses, but they are spiritual senses. And spiritual senses act differently than material senses. Material senses are limited. Spiritual senses are unlimited. We also have them, But right now, because we're in a material body, we are not able to appreciate or use it. Is my voice audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, all right. The Supreme Lord's senses are not so covered. His senses are transcendental and therefore called nirguna. Guna means the material modes, but his senses are without material covering. It should be understood that his senses are not exactly like ours. Although he is the source of all the sensory activities, he has his transcendental senses, which are uncontaminated. This is very nicely explained in Shetashvatara Upanishad in the verse Apani Paro Javano Grahita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no hands which are materially contaminated, but he has hands and accepts whatever sacrifice is offered to him. That is the distinction between the conditioned soul and the super soul. He has no material eyes, but he has eyes. Otherwise, how can he see? He sees everything, past, present, and future. He lives within the heart of the living being, and he knows what we have done in the past, what we are doing now, and what is awaiting us in the future. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. He knows everything, but no one knows him. It is said that the Supreme Lord has no legs like us, but he can travel through space because he has spiritual legs. In other words, the Lord is not impersonal. He has his eyes, legs, hands, and everything else. And because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we also have these things. But his hands, legs, eyes, and senses are not contaminated by material nature. Bhagavad Gita also confirms that when the Lord appears, he appears as he is by his internal potency. He is not contaminated by the material energy because he is the Lord of material energy. I was just appreciating today morning, I was meditating on the fact that my Lord, Krishna, is never getting old. He's always Navayovanamcha. He's always fresh, youthful, right? Whether he's 70 years old or 125 years old. Beyond 16, Krishna does not age. And he's always looking like he's a 16-year-old because he's the boss of material energy. Material energy cannot impact him, but material energy impacts us. We get impacted by time, right? And thus, slowly, our youthful nature goes away and we become older as we go along. But in Krishna's case, he's always ever fresh, ever young, right? So is Shrimati Radharani. They're both very, very beautiful and always looking the same fresh youth. In fact, not just same. Every day they look fresher than the day before. And I had the great fortune when I was living in Chicago. Every day I would go for Mangalarti and stay till Darshanarti. And Darshanarti, Kishore Kishori, their deities were dressed up with beautiful flowers and new clothes and everything. And every day I had this realization that how can they look better every single day than the previous day? How? It's not humanly possible, but it is not human. It's not material, it's spiritual, right? So although deity is made of marble, he is Radha and Krishna. And thus every day they show their Navayovanam form, right? Same with Vrindavan, same with Mayapur, whichever temple is close to you. If you go there every day, you'll notice they're looking different and more effulgent every day. It just gets better and better. And that's the spiritual nature of the Lord's beauty. One of
I've
the
seen
most
it, Prabhuji.
attractive things, huh?
I have seen it, Prabhuji. When I went to Mayapur, during Mangalarati, like we were just doing the deep, and I was really tired, like my leg was hurting, so I didn't want to go for Darshanarati. But my brother came with me, so he just pulled me to Darshanarati. Let's go. When I went there, Prabhuji, like I had, like it was like an ecstasy. Like it's a whole different. Like I couldn't believe I just saw the same deities just a few hours before. It's just a completely different thing, completely different feeling altogether.
Exactly. And it also depends on who dresses them, what mood they're in, if it's Ekadashi or a Purnima, or you can see the different moods reflected in the color of their dress, in their face, in their smile. Like Radha Raman in Vrindavan, some days you can see his teeth. Some days you cannot see his teeth. He's smiling without teeth. Sometimes he's smiling with teeth. It's incredible. So Krishna's form is not material, but those who see him as material, they get the reciprocation that way. And those who see him as spiritual, they get that reciprocation that way. Ragini Mataji, which verse did we read till?
16, Prabhuji, till 16
Okay,
we have it.
okay, we'll cover the next one. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving, because he is subtle. He is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. In Vedic literature, we understand that Narayana, the Supreme Person, is residing both outside and inside of every living entity. He is present in both the spiritual and the material worlds. Although he is far, far away, still he is near to us. These are the statements of Vedic literature. Ashino duram vrajati shayano yati sarvatah katha Upanishad 1.2.21. And because he is always engaged in transcendental bliss, we cannot understand how he is enjoying his full opulence. We cannot see or understand with these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him or with our material mind and senses cannot act. Our material mind and senses cannot act. But one has to purify his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness and devotional service. Can he see him constantly? One of my names of Krishna that I really like is Adhokshaja, which means one who cannot be understood through mind and senses. He is beyond mind and senses. And that's Krishna. So talking about this aspect of Krishna, that he's far, far away and he's still very close by, I will share a story that will help you understand this. So Draupadi and the Pandavas, they're in the forest. They have been banished to the forest. So every day, Draupadi would be cooking for the Pandavas, and she had this Akshay Patra. And in that Akshay Patra, the blessing was that till Draupadi eats, there can be as much food as possible that can be taken out of that Akshay Patra. But after Draupadi eats, there can be no more food. And this was known to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana also knew what time the Pandavas eat. So specifically, he invited Durvasa Muni, and he asked Durvasa Muni, "Oh, I'm really worried about my cousins. Please, can you go check them after this time, just to see how they're doing?" And Durvasa Muni said, yes, I will do so. So Durvasa Muni came exactly after Draupadi ate. And Durvasa Muni didn't come alone. He came with 60,000 disciples. And of course, the Grihastha mentality or Grihastha achar etiquette is, when a great saintly person comes, you offer him food, you offer him place to rest, you take care of them. Hospitality is a very important part of Grihastha Dharma. So, so Durvasa Muni came, and Yudhishthira Maharaj said, "Welcome, my dear Muni. You have come. We are very fortunate that you're here. So please take bath. And by the time you're finished taking bath with your disciples, we will have prasadam ready for you." And Draupadi is freaking out. She's like, "How can you make such a promise?" Durvasa Muni is known for giving curses. He's very angry kind of a Muni. So we are all gone. We are going to suffer pretty badly. What to do? So everybody is in tensed mode. And Draupadi knows only one person who can save her. She goes, "Govinda!" And instantly Krishna is there. From Hastinapur, Krishna appears in that forest. Literally instantly, Krishna is there. So he's far, far away, and he's very close at the same time. So she could see the dust cloud of Krishna's chariot and horses coming. And then from the dust clearing up, the horses appeared, and the horses cleared up. Then she could see her Govinda, and Krishna was there. And she felt, I'm taken care of. And Krishna comes, enters her home, and Krishna's first thing is, "I am hungry, feed me." And Draupadi is like, "Krishna, I asked you to help me. I have to feed 60,000 people. I don't know how to do it. There is all these disciples of Durvasa Muni. Kindly help me. I need to eat first. You need to feed me first. But there is nothing left. And I just finished eating, Krishna. Krishna said, I don't care. You show me the Akshay Patra. I want to see what is in there. And Draupadi goes, and like Krishna's like, see, you're hiding. There is that little strain of spinach. I want to have that. Krishna takes that strain of spinach, puts it in his mouth. Krishna like, I'm satisfied. And then Nakul and Sahadev was outside and they came running and they said, somehow or other, Durvasa Muni and all his 60,000 disciples, they were suddenly burping and they ran away. They had their bellies in a hand on their belly. They were completely full and they ran away. They didn't want to come. We asked them, please, my dear Muni, please come for our hospitality. Please accept prasad at our place. And he said, no, thank you. We're very full. We can't accept any more food. So that's the beauty of it. So there are two things here. One is obviously Krishna is far away and he can instantly manifest himself because he's super soul. He's in every atom. He can be at any point, at anywhere. Second thing to also understand from this pastime is that when Krishna is satisfied, everybody else is satisfied. We try to satisfy everyone without satisfying Krishna, and we are not able to satisfy anyone. But when we water the root, then all the flowers, branches, leaves, fruits, everything gets nourished. Krishna is the root. We have to water the root. So we offer our obeisances, we chant the holy names, we offer our respects, prayers, everything to the root. All the demigods are pleased. All the great sages are pleased. Our parents, our duties to whoever is above us is taken care of when we offer our respects to Krishna. So that's very important to understand. Some people they try to go to all the demigods, they'll try to do all the seva, this work and philanthropy and this and that. One place and they get spread everywhere. All the nourishment is taken care of, right? That's how this works. And it makes our life also simple. Just like Krishna told his father, why worship Indra when you can worship Govardhan? Just worship me in the form of Govardhan and all your needs will be taken care of. So worship Krishna. Krishna is providing all the support to all the demigods who are providing us with everything. And they are all satisfied when we worship Krishna. All right. It is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God can see him always without cessation. And it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 11:54 that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. Bhaktya tva ananya sakya. So Krishna can be seen and understood only by his devotees. He's everywhere. He's in every part of creation. So never feel lonely. Never feel lost. Never feel that, oh God, who's going to save me in this dark place? Krishna is everywhere. So we are never without our loving Father. That's something we should have full faith in. And he can appear any place at any time in any form to take care of whatever our needs are. Not like we want him to take care of our needs like a servant, but Krishna loves to take care of his devotees, just like devotees like to serve Krishna. Krishna also likes to serve his devotees. There is a loving reciprocation between Krishna and his devotees. So that's how. Okay, any questions? Any realizations? Anything you want to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Today, actually, morning class was really awesome, Prabhuji. I just want to share with you this because from the morning, I just really felt so happy. What are the things I am doing? Everything is in a positive. It's like refresh and it's very positive. Thank you for the morning sessions, Prabhuji. I feel like you have to take little bit rest, Prabhuji, because just now I heard that you're not feeling good. Why don't you take rest for some time and then start the sessions?
I'm going to turn off my phone and I'm going to close my eyes and not wake up till tomorrow, probably like late morning. Because I just need rest. That's what I understood. But anyway, thank you so much, Mataji. I really appreciate that.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, moving on. If there are no other questions. 13, 17. Somebody wants to read?
Text 17. Avibhaktam cha bhutesu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam bhutabhat cha tajyam grasisnu prabha vishnu cha. Although the super soul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the one maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all.
Thank you, Matish.
Hare Krishna.
So although the super soul appears to be divided, so we might think, oh, super soul is in everyone's heart. So there are like trillions and trillions of super souls. No, it is one super soul. It is one personality of Godhead who is, it's like mirrored in everybody's heart. So for example, to those of you techies, you can create an instance of a program and you can have multiple instances, or like an app, right? I have the same, let's say Uber app on my phone, and multiple people can have the same app. It's one app on one server, and all these little apps are actually accessing that data from that server. So it's kind of like that. Super soul is everyone's heart, but that doesn't divide him. He's one super soul, one entity who is all pervading. He's everywhere, in all atoms and all living entities. That is what's being explained here.
Prabhuji, it's like cloud.
A lot of times I use that example of internet, like the all connectivity. Yeah. 13, 18. Somebody wants to read?
Text 18. Jyotisam apita jyotistamasah param uchyate jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam hrudi sarvasya vishitam. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart.
The super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, is the origin of light in all luminous objects like the sun, moon, and stars. In the Vedic literature, we find that in the spiritual kingdom, there is no need of sun or moon because the effulgence of the Supreme Lord is there. So in the spiritual world, there is no moon or stars. The Lord's own effulgence is enough. Brahma Jyoti is enough to light everything up. In the material world, that Brahma Jyoti, the Lord's spiritual effulgence, is covered by the Mahatattva, the material elements. Therefore, in this material world, we require the assistance of sun, moon, electricity, etc. for light. But in the spiritual world, there is no need for such things. It is clearly stated in the Vedic literature that because of his luminous effulgence, everything is illuminated. It is clear, therefore, that his situation is not in the material world. He is situated in the spiritual world, which is far, far away in the spiritual sky. That is also confirmed in the Vedic literature. Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.8. He is just like the sun, eternally luminous, but he is far, far beyond the darkness of the material world. His knowledge is transcendental. The Vedic literature confirms that Brahman is concentrated, transcendental knowledge. To one who is anxious to be transferred to the spiritual world, knowledge is given by the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart. I'll explain this in a nice way. So there's a person I know. She is not very highly educated, but she's highly devotional, and she has been doing Archa Vigraha Seva, deity worship, for a very long time. And because she's not very educated, learned, she doesn't have the propensity also to learn or read scriptures much. But she does her services with a lot of sincerity. She has a lot of faith in her guru, and she listens to lectures once in a while. But she's not one of those scholarly devotees who's like memorized on the Sanskrit and everything. But the interesting thing is, because it is being said, Super Soul is the object of knowledge and also knowledge himself, right? So because she's a devotee, a lot of the realizations she would have would actually correlate with the scriptures, right? And many of you can also see, you will get certain realizations, and then look for scriptural validation and it will be there. That means super soul is providing that. That's a gift from Krishna. And this is something very, very special. This means you're progressing in spiritual life and you're getting spiritual realization. So anyway, yeah, that's something you will experience. Something I have experienced also. And always when I get that kind of realization, I look for validation. I call up my mentor and I ask him, like, Prabhuji, is this accurate? I got this realization. And he either validates it or he'll add more angles to it to make it richer understanding. But yeah, that's my way of validating. So always look out for the realizations Krishna is giving. So, that aha, this is how it works. And that's basically that Krishna is pleased and he's helping us progress in spiritual life. So that is coming from Super Soul, right? And if you see Gyan Marg, like Jnana Yoga, in Gyan Yoga also, the highest worship is that of Super Soul. So Gyanis, Munis, who are doing meditation and studying scriptures, their whole focus is on Paramatma within. Like our focus is on Bhagavan, Krishna. Their Jnani's focus is always on Paramatma within, because knowledge also comes from Paramatma and Paramatma is also knowledge personified.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
so these verses, like, is that, so like it's in third person. So who is speaking these verses?
What do you mean this is in third person?
So if you see the purport, it is said like, can you just share your screen?
Yeah.
So yeah, he is the source of light of all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter. So it is in third person, right? So who is speaking these verses then?
Bhagavan is speaking. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha, right?
So
So
he is
Bhagavan is
speaking about.
referring to Paramatma as third person.
Oh,
And the same Bhagavan was saying, Brahman is beneath me.
uh,
I am above Brahman. It's part of him only. But this is Bhagavan speaking, because Bhagavan only speaks. Brahman doesn't speak. Paramatma
okay.
doesn't speak. Only Bhagavan speaks. So Bhagavan is mentioning about his different aspects.
Okay. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Sure. His knowledge is transcendental. The Vedic literature confirms that Brahman is concentrated transcendental. Asha, I read this. Only by knowing him can one surpass the boundary of birth and death. He is situated in everyone's heart as the supreme controller. The supreme has legs and hands distributed everywhere, and this cannot be said for the individual soul. We are confined to our body only, but the Supreme Lord is everywhere, in every soul, in every atom. Therefore, that there are two knowers of the field of activity, Kshetragya and Kshetra. Remember that? So two knowers of the field of activity. Kshetragya, there is the soul who knows somewhat, and Kshetragya, super Kshetragya, is super soul, Paramatma, who knows everything about this field of activity. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Super Soul, is the Prabhu or Master of all living entities. Therefore, he is the ultimate shelter of all living entities. So there is no denying the fact that Supreme Super Soul and the individual soul are always different. So they don't become one. There's God and there is us sitting side by side in the heart region. Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, we move on to the next verse, 13.19.
Text 19. Iti kshetram tatadjnanam jneyam choktam samasataha mad bhakta etad vijnanya mad bhava yopapadyate. Thus, the field of activities, knowledge, and the noble have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attend to my nature.
Next verse.
Text 20. Prakritim purusham chaiva vidhi anadi udbhavapi vikaramscha gunamschaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be begingless, their transformations and the modes of matter or products of material nature.
Okay. Thus, the field of activity, the body, the knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain my nature. So Krishna has explained, and only those who are Krishna's devotees can understand it. Others can read it, but they can misunderstand it. So there is a difference. There's a qualification to understanding spiritual knowledge. What is that qualification? What is Krishna saying?
One has to indulge in devotional activities and be a devotee.
One has to be a devotee. Pradeep Prabhu, you were saying something?
Yes, same.
Right. So Krishna says it multiple times to Arjun. Bhakto si me sakha cheti. That you're my devotee and you're my sakha, my friend. That's why I'm sharing this confidential knowledge with you. Right. So multiple times Krishna is mentioning that. And in Brahma Samhita also it is said by Lord Brahma that Munis and Rishis and Gyanis, they can be traveling at the speed of their mind. So just like in science, we say traveling at the speed of light. In the Vedic context, the fastest speed is supposed to be the speed of mind. So it is said that one can be traveling at the speed of mind and still not reach Govinda. But Adurlabham Atma Bhakto, those who are his devotees, is very easily approachable. And they can easily reach them without any difficulty. So there's a qualification to understanding Bhagavad Gita. It's not like anybody who opens the book without any guidance or knowledge can understand it. I used to get so many calls. So what used to happen is this Chicago phone call, whenever nobody would pick up, it would get redirected to my personal cell phone. And I would get scholars and professors and students and all kinds of people calling me. Be like, why did Krishna say that? In a very challenging mood. And of course, for me, I always like preaching. So I would turn that into a preaching exercise and give them the context. And then it would crystallize. And they're like, is this the way to study the Gita? I'm like, yes. We all need a little teacher to help us understand the context. The Gita is not meant to be understood on its own. Of course, there are purports and everything, but still having a devotee as a teacher helps us understand the devotional angle, which clarifies the misunderstandings. So there is a qualification. And thus,
we are blessed, Prabhuji.
We are all blessed. I'm also blessed. I got this from my mentor, and so I'm sharing with all of you. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain my nature. Let me quickly harp on the attain my nature part. The three items that have been described, the field of the body, the process of understanding, the body and the soul and the super soul, it is specially described that only the unalloyed devotees of the Lord can understand these three items clearly. So for these devotees, Bhagavad Gita is fully useful. It is they who can attain the supreme goal, the nature of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. In other words, only devotees and not others can understand Bhagavad Gita and derive the desired result. Nature of Krishna. What does it mean to attain Krishna's nature?
In the process of Krishna consciousness, as a devotee goes along, or from becoming an aspiring devotee to devotee, he or she gets the quality of Krishna to some level. Maybe mercifulness, forgiveness, like being equipoised, seeing everyone from the soul standpoint, not the body standpoint. Like, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add? What does it mean to attain Krishna's nature?
Krishna's nature is Krishna is everywhere. So when we as a devotee understand this nature, we feel that we feel he's everywhere, and thus we attain this nature, means like that.
Okay, we feel connected to him. He's everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Aparna is typing equipoised in happiness and distress. Okay. Anybody else wants to add? What does it mean to attain Krishna's nature?
Prabhuji, it's like qualitatively we become equal to Krishna. Just as Krishna is Satchidananda, we are also Satchidananda. But because we are in the material world, we have this body. So once we attain Krishna's nature, we are also Satchidananda.
Okay. So it's kind of like Krishnized. You take an iron rod and you take a magnet and you keep rubbing the magnet in one direction. The iron rod will get magnet-like qualities. And when you bring in iron filings, that iron rod will act like a magnet. So by practicing Krishna consciousness, Krishna bhakti, we attain Krishna's nature. So Krishna's wonderful qualities manifest in us in very, very tiny ways. And that itself is very attractive. I was last Sunday, I was at the event and there were lots of people who came because it was a free event. I never do free events. It was a business event. And this one lady interrupted me. She interrupted me and told me, sir, this man, he has been following you since 2016. And apparently he goes to every event. And when I asked him, why are you here? Do you have a startup? He said, no, I'm just here because of Avelo Roy. And she's like, how can you be so attractive? How can people love you? And I was looking at her. I was like, and I gave her a Krishna conscious answer in a business setting. I said, you know what? The word Krishna means all attractive. So Krishna is all attractive. And those who are Krishna's devotees, who have some way rubbed off some of those little qualities to whatever degree, also become attractive. And they were like, oh, right? And one person heard that. And that person actually is in today's morning Bhagavad Gita study group. Just by hearing that, she was like, I want to learn Bhagavad Gita. I want to join this. Because devotees become attractive, because, we become Krishnized. Krishna's qualities come into us and we transform. Wherever we are, we transform. All right. Okay, done with this verse. We have 4 minutes left. Is there any other questions you would like to ask? I don't start another verse.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I had something that I wanted to share, or just to get confirmation from your side. So you said, and Bhagavad Gita says also, like the soul and super soul is in the heart. But in terms of like people who are getting heart transplant, is it in the subtle body the super soul and the soul is, or like
the exact Sanskrit word is Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. So Riddeshe, Desh means region. So Riddeshe means heart region. So when we see something nice or we feel hurt or whatever, we feel something here.
Yes.
Right. So in this area is where super soul resides. It is understood, soul and super soul. But the soul also pervades throughout the body. So if there's a mosquito biting at your, stinging you on your little toe, you'll feel it because the sensation is there. The soul is pervading throughout the body, but it is said heart region that is there. Now, yes, there are instances where people have had heart transplant and their personality is completely changed and became like the person who the heart belonged to. It has happened.
Yes.
I don't know what the reason behind that is, but it's my understanding that super soul and the soul are here. That's all I know.
Okay, it becomes complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this consciousness shift happens.
Also, I heard like
there
was a heart transplant done in a like vegetarian patient, and the heart was from a like a meat eater patient. So when the heart transplant got transplanted, the new guy who was vegetarian now wanted to eat meat and stuff. So it happened. So yeah.
And certain songs, the other person is to like, this person starts humming those songs. So consciousness definitely travels, but yeah, I don't know. That's something I don't want to talk about. Something I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, some people are asking questions. This is very difficult to be equipoised in happiness and distress. Yes, it is difficult. So don't focus on being equipoised. Focus on being Krishna conscious. When you're Krishna conscious, you feel Krishna's support in happiness and distress. So you can be equipoised because you have the support from Krishna. But when you try to be equipoised, yes, it's very difficult. When you have Krishna's support on your back, you're like, it doesn't matter. Krishna will take care of me no matter what the situation is. I'm going through good situation. Sometimes it'll be bad, sometimes it'll be good. It's okay. Krishna will take care of me no matter what. When does the morning session happen? Every Friday time. It started this morning. It's Fridays at 7 a.m. If you're in the group, Ujjwal, you should be able to have the link. If not, just message me on WhatsApp and I'll send you the link. Indranath, Prabhuji has started PG Chapter 1 Graha. Yes. Akshat, okay, Prabhuji. So is it like it's not okay to be okay? Akshat, unmute yourself and ask that question because I don't understand cryptic messages. What do you mean it's not okay to be okay?
Yeah, I have heard it, but some people say that even if you're going through pain, then it's okay to be not okay. That is what people say. So,
Speak loudly and clearly.
hello.
Yeah, speak loudly and clearly.
Yeah, so I was asking that some people in pain, they say that it's okay not to be okay. That is the.
What does that mean?
So they are like telling that you have to go through this situation and
okay, you have to get through difficulties and it's totally okay that you're not in a good position. Okay, yeah. Yes. But you'll still be okay. That's what Krishna consciousness is, right? For a materialist, yeah, you won't be okay if you're going through a bad situation. You will be okay if you're going through a good situation. But for a devotee, you're always okay, no matter what the situation is, because your okayness, your happiness is not dependent on the situation. Your happiness is dependent on your relationship with Krishna. Your nourishment, your happiness is coming from the source of all happiness. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam. So another name of Govinda is one who gives pleasure to the senses. He gives pleasure to the cows, he gives pleasure to the senses. So go means cow, go means senses also. So when Krishna is giving you happiness, how can you not be happy? So for a devotee, that is not true. But for others, yeah, it's okay not to be okay, or get comfortable with being uncomfortable. These are motivational quotes and all that. But one who is Krishna conscious, to them it doesn't make a difference, this way or that way. All right, we'll end it here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Have a good night.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.